stop for 1 minute and ask yourself, what is the most important thing in the world? What is the thing that we all want and we all crave for, we all long for, the thing that moves this planet? The answer, I think, is love. And the next question is, if love is the most important thing on the planet, I mean, if it is the thing that drives us to achieve, it drives us to succeed, it drives us to work and better ourselves, all because we can be more lovable or more desirable for someone to love, then how do we know what it is? How do we know where to find it? If we don't know what it is, if we can't define it, how do we know when we have found it? Were these questions that struck me when I was 18. I began thinking about the meaning of life and thinking that this was probably the most important thing to understand about the world and how I was going to live my life. So I began looking at this concept. I looked at different cultures, I looked at different languages, all to understand this concept of what is love. And the one that I found most interesting was the Hebrew language, because it had a slightly different take on it than I read in other cultures. There were three predominant words in Hebrew. One of them in particular that's really important. There's actually two, but one of them I'm going to talk about first. And that first word is chesed. Now, chesed means, it's often translated as loving kindness, but the word actually comes from the word strength, which I thought was really odd. I mean, why would love come from the word strength? Why would you define love as strength or associate those two words together? And as I began to think about it, I considered that, we live in a sort of fend for yourself, dog eat dog kind of world where, we have to fight every day for our survival. We have to fight for our protection. We have to fight for our provision. We have to fight for our welfare and our well-being. Life is a continuous struggle from beginning to end, really, to stay alive. And so when somebody steps into your life and says, I'm going to give my strength, my life force to you so that you can thrive, we feel loved. We feel cared for. We feel protected. We feel safe. All of a sudden we can just let go of all of the worry and the stress because somebody else is there looking out for us. So I thought this was really interesting. I began to see love itself as an exchange of life energy. And therefore, I define love as the force of life. It's the energy of life that powers the universe. And this process of exchanging love from this life force from one person to another is the exchange of love. And so you think about it in simple terms, right? We can think about life as being just sort of alive, as in not dead, as in you're able to breathe and you have a pulse and so forth. But there's a more sort of richer definition of that. We often ask people, well, how alive are you, or how full of life are you? We ask ourselves, do I feel like I am full of life? And that means that, do I feel vibrant? Do I feel like my life is thriving? And so we can look at love in a very qualitative sense, and that's the desire of love. It's not just that you want to see something existing, it's that you want to see it thriving. So you think about something as simple as like a puppy dog or a young baby, how you have this sort of energy that builds up inside of you that you want to care for. You want to see that animal or that person, that young human thriving and finding their fulfillment in life. You want to see them safe and protected. You want to protect their innocence. You want to care for them in a way that they can thrive. That is the force of love at work within us. And so it's a very important concept to understand because living in love, being loved, and loving others comes from this dynamic of this exchange. You think about romantic relationships, right? How in the romantic relationship, there's always usually a somewhat stronger individual and there's always a somewhat more vulnerable individual. And it's that slight imbalance between the two that creates that romantic energy. If you didn't have that dynamic, then what would happen is the relationship would just be a partnership. It would be a friendship. It wouldn't really be a romance. It's that energy, that exchange of energy that creates the romantic dynamic between the two people. And so in the old concept of covenant, we talk about like a marriage covenant, for example. What's interesting is that the husband, the word husband literally means the house band. It means the one who bands together or creates a house. And so what happens in the covenant relationship is that the stronger person in the relationship makes a commitment to the other person that they're going to create a place for them. They're going to create a home, a place where they can thrive. Maybe they can have children together, and they can build a life together, and together have some sort of a space that is protected, and a space where life can thrive. And so that dynamic in love relationships is also important, because if what you're looking for is just a partner, very often what you won't have is you won't have that romantic dynamic, which is what makes the relationship work. And also, if you don't understand the importance of that, you may stop cultivating that. It may just become, that you become friends in the relationship rather than really working within this love dynamic, this exchange between you. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the other word for love, which is really how we receive love. It's how we find and how we open to it and how we immerse ourselves in it, so that you can have and learn how to have all the love that you possibly could need in this life.